Some of the scariest moments in our lives comes from the movies and programs we were exposed to as a child. Nowadays, nothing too scary is made for kids, but it seems like back then, there was a whole mess of frightening scenes in some of our favorite movies. So today, I'm going to count down the most disturbing moments in kids' film. Just remember that while these moments might not be scary to you as an adult, they definitely left an imprint on us as kids. With that being said, this is the top 20 disturbing moments in kids' film. The Witch from The Wizard of Oz. For most kids, the Witch from The Wizard of Oz was one of the earliest villains they've ever been introduced to, and her evil laugh, creepy minions, and sinister castle gave kids shivers down their spines. One of her more disturbing scenes is towards the end, when the witch tries to burn the scarecrow. Dorothy throws water on him to tame the fire, when suddenly the water splashes onto the witch, causing her to melt.
You cursed rat! Look what you've done! I'm melting! Melting! Oh, what a world! What a world!
The Child Catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Here we are, children. Come and get your lollipops.
With a name like the Child Catcher, one would expect this man to be evil or creepy, so kids can learn not to talk to strangers. But this guy took it to a whole new level. With his mischievous appearance and eerie voice, the Child Catcher definitely reminded kids to keep away from mysterious men. Charlie's Dream from All Dogs Go to Heaven. The movie begins with a German shepherd named Charlie, who escapes a dog pound to return to the casino. His partner Carface doesn't want trouble from Charlie being an escaped convict, so he gets Charlie drunk and murders him. After Charlie gets to heaven, he decides to escape it and return to Earth for revenge on Carface. This leads to him having a long, vivid dream about the molten rots of hell. There's even a fire-breathing demonic dog creature. The Library Ghost from Ghostbusters. The most frightening of scenes are the ones that come out of nowhere. In this scene, the Ghostbusters are trying to figure out what to do in their first encounter with an actual ghost, which happens to be just an elderly librarian. After realizing that asking questions won't work, they decide to do what any rational person would do, and charge at the ghost. The Banshee from Darby O'Gill and the Little People. One of the lesser-known Disney films, Darby O'Gill and the Little People featured Irish culture as our protagonist tries to find the land of the Little People, assumed to be leprechauns. Towards the end, Katie falls to her death, which triggers the arrival of the Banshee.
The Banshee!
For most kids growing up, the Banshee, with its vaguely opaque outfit, green overtone, and haunting cry, was the one to scare the crap out of them. The Dogfight from Scruffy. The basic synopsis of this movie, from people who remember it, is that almost everyone dies or gets harmed in some way in this film. After an onslaught of depressing scenes, such as the mother dog being killed by hunters, and an alcoholic street performer dying from a disease, Scruffy's friend Butch is seen fighting against a bulldog, with quite some blood being shown. Towards the end, Scruffy and her friends are all taken to the pound, where they will all be euthanized. They eventually survive before being adopted to a nice home, but that's quite a lot of depressing scenes for a small-time Saturday morning flick. Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia.
Bald Mountain, according to tradition, is the gathering place of Satan and his followers.
The 1940 movie Fantasia is a film that consisted of 8 animated segments to classical music, and the final segment is one hell of a musical. The scene contains a swirl of spirits circling around Satan, burning women turning into morbid creatures, and the same creatures falling into a pit of flames, and spirits flying right at you. One of Disney's finest pieces of art was nightmare fuel for kids. The animatronics from Dark Crystal. Creator of The Muppet Show, Jim Henson, is the last person you expect to appear on this list. However, he was known for putting out more dark and edgy work by his fans. The Dark Crystal was a perfect example, combining creepy animatronics with religious ceremonies, which was so profane that the film was banned in Iran. The Snake from Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is a classic horror kids film. It was filled with disturbing imagery and gags that made children shit themselves. Most notably, the scene where Beetlejuice becomes a snake and starts tossing people around the house. Modern CGI does not compare to how frightening this thing looked. The Troll from Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh, Snuffies. It's just you.
Ernest Scared Stupid is part of a whole series of films centered around a fictional man named Ernest, a clumsy man who finds himself in peculiar situations. In the Halloween-themed film Ernest Scared Stupid, he accidentally unleashes an army of trolls upon a small town, and these trolls are some of the most disgusting looking things ever. With their saliva-filled smiles, noses with leaking mucus, and spikes on their eyebrows, the trolls kept kids frightened throughout all of Halloween. Bruno's Transformation from The Witches. The 1990 movie is full of creepy imagery, such as bald witches and mice that used to be children. Speaking of mice, there is a scene where the RSPCC, a group of all of England's witches, gather together to discuss Formula 86, a potion that can turn the drinker into a mouse within 2 hours. To demonstrate, a boy named Bruno, who earlier was given chocolate laced with the formula, transformed into a mouse right in front of the group of witches. The scene is filled with quirky camera angles, awkward close-ups, and all the witches laughing creepily. Dying Rabbits from Watership Down. It's debatable whether or not this film was even made for children. Even the book the film was based on was supposed to be read by children. But its warm colors and portrayal of bunnies led some parents to believe that this movie was perfectly safe for their kids. Unfortunately, this film had some very graphic scenes, such as bloody fights.
I told you once I was trying to impress you. I hope I have.
And I told you that I would kill you myself.
Rabbits with bruised up and bleeding faces. And even one dying right in front of us.
You're free. We please don't die. It's no use. We got you out.
This was, without a doubt, a traumatizing experience for those who have seen this film as kids. Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Pee-wee's Playhouse was already a show that might have been too creepy for kids. So how could the writers possibly up the ante for the show's movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure? Well, first off, there's a scene where Pee-wee gets picked up by a truck driver named Large Marge. She begins to tell Pee-wee a story about the worst accident she's ever seen, which leads to this.
Wreck. It looked like this.
The story itself was already getting creepy, but her face was downright disturbing. It was later revealed that Large Marge was actually dead the whole time.
Large Marge? She's...
Why, tonight's the anniversary. Worst accident I ever seen.
But that means the Large Marge I was riding was...
Lovely. Next is especially frightening if you're afraid of clowns. It involves Pee-wee's dream sequence in the hospital. The doctors, who all happen to be clowns, are trying to fix Pee-wee's bike, but to no avail. So what do the clown doctors do to try to fix the problem? Call upon the powers of Satan, of course. The tunnel scene, from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Everyone remembers this scene because it came out of nowhere, and is so far-fetched from the rest of the film. The majority of the movie is innocent and fun, with Charlie as our pure of heart protagonist, and a handful of whimsical songs. When out of nowhere, Wonka takes us through this tunnel. The colors become all disoriented. There's imagery of snakes and a chicken getting its head cut off. And finally, Wonka tops it all off by singing a chilling poem.
There's no knowing where we're rowing, or which way the river's flowing. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane a-blowing?
Judge Doom, from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Throughout the film, Judge Doom came off as a mysterious kind of character with a simple goal in mind. He wanted to get rid of the crazy physics-defying tunes. Following his supposed death, Doom survives by revealing that he is actually half man, half tune, but completely batshit insane.
Remember me, Eddie? When I kill your brother, I talk. Yes!
Now the once mysterious Judge Doom goes on a rampage, using tune logic as he tries to kill our protagonist. Finally, Judge Doom is defeated by being melted in the dip, also known as tune acid. The electrocution scene, from Something Wicked This Way Comes. Disney seemed to went through this grungy teen phase in the 80s/90s, back when their films were much darker. The film adaptation of the 60s novel, Something Wicked This Way Comes, tells the story of two boys investigating a strange carnival that came to their town. This movie has some of the most bizarre scenes and freaky imagery, like the hallucinogenic pony ride with distorted music. A man being electrocuted by the mysterious Mr. Dark. Followed by a boy getting his head sliced off by a guillotine. Satan, from The Adventures of Mark Twain.
Who are you?
An angel.
The Adventures of Mark Twain is a stop-motion animated fantasy film released in 1985, and everyone remembers it for that one scene with our good friend Satan. After giving the kids some clay fruit, Satan tells them to make people out of it. He then brings them to life, only to begin discussing his hatred towards humanity as he squashes the clayman.
I find you humans quite interesting, even though you are a worthless, greedy lot.
His face grows more evil, more menacing, He brings lightning and earthquakes to the small clay civilization, effectively murdering all of them. Never mind the fact that this is Satan, literally Satan, but his haunting voice and the way he gives his demonstration on humanity is truly terrifying, especially for children who grew up watching this. After the kids run off, Satan has one final thing to say on mankind.
Life itself is only a vision, a dream. Nothing exists save empty space and you. And you are but a thought.
Pleasure Island, from Pinocchio. One of Disney's most infamously disturbing movie scenes comes from the movie Pinocchio. After enjoying the free life without a conscience, Pinocchio and Lampwick spend some time drinking and smoking. However, Jiminy Cricket learns about a terrible curse on Pleasure Island. Boys who misbehave will turn into donkeys, or, quote-unquote, make jackasses of themselves. Which leads to this cruel scene where Lampwick actually does transform into a donkey. As Lampwick cries for his mom, Pinocchio and Jiminy escape the island. And that's it. He didn't save the other boys who were either trapped on the island or already transformed into donkeys. Pinocchio just left them to be cursed to work on salt mines or circuses. The Wheelers, from Return to Oz. Whenever somebody mentions this movie scaring them as a child, it's usually the scene with the hallway of disembodied heads, yelling at Dorothy as she tries to escape. Which is pretty horrifying, but what's absolutely brick-shitting is the scene with the tall, crazy-laughing, hostile creatures known as the Wheelers.
Come here, chicken!
Return to Oz was panned by most critics, claiming that the film was too scary and intense for children, and the Wheelers definitely helped make it so. Everything about Crybaby Lane. Despite being a creepypasta, the film actually existed on the Nickelodeon channel back in the year 2000. After its initial airing, Nickelodeon was met with tons of angry complaints from parents, deeming the movie far too disturbing for children. The film was pretty gruesome, as it tells the tale of a farmer's wife who gave birth to conjoined twins. After the twins died of a shared illness, the father, who was ashamed of his kids, unjoined them with a saw. He buried the good twin in the cemetery, while tossing the other twin in a field at the end of an old dirt road called Crybaby Lane. The urban legend is that anybody who happens to be at Crybaby Lane at night will hear the cries of the dead twin. Just the backstory alone screams that this movie must have scarred those who have seen it. And that's not even half of it. This movie also has seances, road gangs, and nudity. Whatever the film's intentions were, it did not find the right audience to express them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like down below and subscribe to my channel.
الشاب دور 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 شايف افلخ 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 عنده 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 خلاص